Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. And today we're going to discuss motivation for social anxiety. Now, if you're new here and you're looking for more social psychology videos, or you just want to learn about social anxiety in general, then make sure to check out my other videos. So, if you have social anxiety, you may be asking yourself this question. Why do I feel so anxious around people? Why is it that when I go to parties or events, or even talking to strangers on the street, makes me so scared? And the answer to these questions actually involves a lot of different things. But one thing in particular that I want to highlight is how our past experiences and memories can affect our current level of social anxiety. There are essentially two reasons why our past can affect our present levels of social anxiety. The first reason is a lack of social experiences early on. The second reason is having some sort of negative social experience. Both of these can contribute to the development of social anxiety disorder, but they do it in different ways. Let's take a look at each of them. The first reason is the lack of social experiences. If you don't have much experience with other people, you may develop a fear of them. For example, let us say someone was homeschooled their entire life and never really had any real interaction with anyone else. In this case, they may not develop the skills necessary to interact with other people. Because if you do unpractice something, you're bound to get worse at it. And it is also likely that they will have a heightened state of anxiety around other people simply because they don't have a lot of experience with them. They may view other people as a threat, or that they may do something wrong when interacting with them. It's almost like when you play a game for the first time and you're not familiar with the rules yet, you're more likely to make mistakes. But once you get used to the rules and you know what you're doing, your likelihood of making mistakes decreases. Similarly, with social situations, the more you put yourself into them, the better you get at navigating them. And on top of that, there is a point I want to make about social anxiety specifically. And one of the things that I talk about in my video about how to overcome social anxiety is the difference between generalized anxiety and social anxiety. Generalized anxiety is when you're anxious about most things, whereas social anxiety is only when you're around other people. This means that someone could have generalized anxiety without ever developing social anxiety. However, someone who has social anxiety almost always has some amount of generalized anxiety as well. Why? Because part of the fear associated with social anxiety is the fear of failure. You're afraid of what other people think of you, so you're worried about what you say or do and whether or not you'll mess up in some way. Well, that worry and fear is an example of generalized anxiety. Therefore, someone who has social anxiety almost always has at least some level of generalized anxiety. So let's go ahead and go into the second reason now, which is having some sort of negative social experience. Even if someone has tons of social experiences, that doesn't automatically mean that they won't develop social anxiety. It just means that they're less likely to develop it than someone who has had many social experiences. If someone is forced to endure a traumatic event in childhood, such as bullying, abuse, rejection, humiliation, shyness, embarrassment, social anxiety, or any other type of trauma, they may develop a fear towards certain people or certain types of people. So what happens is they generalize this fear towards all people. So for example, let's say someone was bullied by other kids at school because of the way they looked. What do you think might happen? They might start to dislike other kids and develop a fear towards them. So then no matter what, they're going to be nervous around other kids. Or another example is public speaking. Let's say someone got up on stage to give a speech in front of a large group of people and they tripped and fell. What do you think would happen in that situation? They may start to develop a fear of being on stage, or giving speeches, or any other situation where they're in front of a large group of people. This relates to something called classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is a learning process in which an organism learns to associate two stimuli together. An easy way to understand this is Pavlov's dog. Pavlov's dogs were originally not associating food with the bell ringing. However, after they heard the bell ring and were fed over and over again, they began to associate the bell ringing with food. Eventually, just the sound of the bell was enough to make the dogs salivate, even if they were ungiven any food. So what does this have to do with social anxiety? Well, in a way, you could say that the negative experience is like the food for the dog, and the social situation is like the bell ringing. Initially, the person didn't associate social situations with anything bad, but after experiencing something negative in a social situation, they begin to associate the two together. Now, the social situation itself may not be a problem, but the experience that occurred in that social situation is what causes the negative reaction. Another thing to consider is that sometimes people are uneven aware of why they have social anxiety, or why they re-nervous around certain groups of people. Like I mentioned before, they just know that they're re-nervous, and they may not be able to pinpoint exactly why that is. If someone experienced something traumatic involving other people at some point in their past, they may not remember that, or they may not have processed that memory fully. Either way, the result is still that they are nervous around other people. Lastly, social anxiety is complex, and it's affected by a ton of factors. These are just the two main reasons why someone would have social anxiety. Keep in mind that this isn't a comprehensive list of everything that can cause social anxiety. So if you have social anxiety, there may be other factors contributing to it. And if you don't have social anxiety, it doesn't mean that you won't develop it in the future. Now, there's something else I want to talk about here. Sometimes people use the term social anxiety and the term introversion interchangeably, but they aren't the same thing. Just because someone is introverted doesn't mean that they have social anxiety. Introversion is simply a personality trait in which people gain energy from spending time alone and lose energy when they be around other people for long periods of time. On the other hand, social anxiety is a mental health condition in which people experience intense levels of fear and anxiety when around other people. Essentially, the difference comes down to motivation. If someone is introverted, they just need time alone to recharge, but they're usually okay around other people. Whereas someone with social anxiety is motivated to avoid other people because they're afraid of what other people will think of them. Another thing to keep in mind is that introversion is not a personality trait that people can just be born with. That is, it's not like a coin flip where either you are introverted or you aren't. Instead, research suggests that introversion is more of a spectrum and that most people fall somewhere in the middle. And on top of that, introversion can change too. Someone can start off being more introverted and then become more extroverted as time goes on. With all of that said, I want to leave you with one last thought. If you have social anxiety, know that it's okay. Millions of other people have it as well, and there's no shame in it. If anything, it just means that you're self-aware and you care about what other people think of you. Use this to your advantage and try to use it as motivation to be a better person. That's gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment down below and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. Take care.